We are now talking to Pro Football Focus senior data collection analyst, Josh Liskiewitz. You like that? Yeah, no, well, let me tell you something. The whole show before we got you on, I know how to pronounce your last name, but I've been going back and forth on how I'm going to present your name because it's got a mouthful, you know.
It is. I won't argue that.
Liskiewitz.
Normally people add an SKI at the end of it because they figure out it's Polish and they get scared.
Oh, man. So I really didn't need to say shalom just now.
Well, just because he's Polish doesn't mean he can't be Jewish. Josh, tell the fans how you started as, working for Pro Football Focus, and how did you become a senior data collection analyst?
Sure. Well, I was working, I guess, as an apprentice for a former NFL scout, worked for Big Ten Network, doing some college scouting for them and for the CFL. And eventually when Chris Collinsworth purchased PFF in 2015, they decided to finally expand to college because to that point they were just the NFL. And so they needed to hire new analysts. I had a couple connections there. And that's kind of when it all started was 2015. That was my first year. And been kicking there ever since.
Now, why don't we get into this wonderful NFL season? Because it's been wonderful, not for us Jet fans and maybe for us Giant fans, but it could be wonderful because the offseason could be very wonderful. I mean, the Jets could be drafting at 4 and 5, and the Giants could be drafting at 6 and 7. So who's better than the New York players, or the New York teams?
The Bills.
Well, the Bills, yes. But that
the real New York team.
Well, hold on one second. Just because they play in Buffalo does not mean that they're going to win a championship. If they don't win a championship, what are they going to do next year? I mean, they could have a lot. I mean, all they need is a running back, really. And I think the Bills are stacked. But anyways, Josh, what are your thoughts right now to this season, as far as I'm concerned, with the opportunities? Not everybody looks at the New York teams as a bad side. I think obviously they're both rebuilding teams. The Jets are quicker to rebuild, and the Giants could be a rebuilding team in the offseason. Do you think that this season's a completely lost season for both teams?
No, not at all. I think they both need to be down there in that building. I don't think 7 and 10, or a middling record like that helps either team. So I think it's perfectly fine for them to be where they're at. Obviously, you're the Jets. You want your rookie quarterback to be healthy, to have some time to show some development, and none of that's happened. So you're worried about that. There's no question about that. You don't like having Michael Carter start to look like he's breaking out as a rookie and then him get hurt for the year. So that's not good either. But at the same time, it really doesn't benefit them at all to be picking somewhere in the middle of the draft. Now, obviously, they get 2 picks. It looks like they're both going to be very high because Seattle is certainly doing their part right now.
Are they ever?
So that's pretty exciting. But this is something I talked about with a couple of fellow PFF analysts. Not even Jets fans in particular, but just for fans of football. And this was before this weekend's blow up with Hutchinson. But before their win this last weekend, they were set to pick 2nd and 5th. If there's a way they could get both edges, Hutchinson and the Oregon kid, how amazing would that be? Yeah. It completely transformed that defense. You got offensive pieces that you at least want to develop that you got last year. I think that would be the funnest thing to watch going forward, getting 2 absolute stud edge guys like that in the draft. And it's still possible with, you just don't know how it's going to shake out. And Seattle certainly doesn't look like they're going to win any games anytime soon. So, maybe it's their pick that's 2nd overall and the Jets pick is 4th or 5th. Hopefully you get lucky and Detroit falls in love with the quarterback.
Well, if that happens, I'll be dancing on this desk right now and doing things that people probably wouldn't want to see. So there you go, as a Jet fan.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I'll go back to the Giants here. Jason Garrett obviously just getting fired last week. They win the first game without him, but Freddie Kitchens, again, as an offensive coordinator, they won with their defense more than their offense. So what do you think in terms of both the offensive coordinator and also the coaching staff, if Joe Judge goes, if Dave Gettleman goes, what do you think would be the best coaching fits for Daniel Jones and this offense? And also if Daniel Jones isn't there, what do you think the direction is for the Giants if they decide to maybe let him go with a new coaching staff?
Well, assuming Gettleman and Judge go, I mean, everything's up in the air. Honestly, right now, both college and NFL, there aren't a lot of super obvious candidates anymore. So, I mean, Joe Brady is still kind of the guy that would interest me. I would certainly lean offense. I would definitely go that way because it's offense rules the NFL now. It's not about defense winning championships. It's about your offense piling on points. And the quarterback is the absolute most important position in football by far. So you got to figure quarterback out. Hopefully, whoever comes in realizes that it's not Daniel Jones. That's not the answer. I think we've seen enough to kind of figure that out. That's the first part of it. But, I would lean toward offense for sure and possibly go down to Carolina to pick off Brady.
Obviously, a few years ago, there was a lot of scrutiny here in New York when it was discussed that Saquon Barkley was going to be the giant pick at number 2. With all those quarterbacks that were sitting there, and obviously there was Denzel Ward and Quentin Nelson was also available in that draft. And it turns out that the number 1 overall pick as well, Baker Mayfield, might not be in Cleveland that much longer either. Do you think those 2 picks will still be in their current homes, or do you think one or both will have new jerseys on at this time next season?
I don't understand how either team, regardless of who's in charge at this point, at the point of the offseason that it comes to this, I don't understand how either one of them can be there. You can't pay Baker that much money to be to be playing like he is. I know he's banged up now, but it's not like at any point in his tenure there he's played at a stage where you want to pay him franchise money. And then certainly Saquon, you can't ever pay a running back that kind of money. Period. That he's gonna, that he's going to want, and he's never on the field. And even though he's had points this year where he's finally been healthy, running backs don't matter. Offensive line matters. Running is an offensive line stat. That's where it comes from. And you can't take running back second overall, and you can't give running back second contracts. So, no, I don't see either of them staying with their current teams.
Watching what's going on in football, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and this could be the first year, and I said this yesterday, this could be the first year where you're going into the playoffs where there's no real choice to say that team in the NFC is going to the Super Bowl, that team from the AFC is going to the Super Bowl, and this team's winning the whole thing. This could be the first year that we're going into the playoffs where you could flip a coin on who's going to win, who's going to lose, and could be a surprise. So your thoughts to the new season where there's not 16 games, but 17 games in an 18-week NFL season, and then the playoffs adding the extra team. What are your thoughts to this year's playoffs with the NFC and AFC?
Boy, I think you said it. It's really up in the air this year. Does Tampa get healthy in time? That's the biggest question to me, because ultimately I trust Brady. But if their defense is going to be as bad as they've been, if they're going to have absolutely no one in the secondary, it's going to be tough. And obviously they've got Antonio Brown now. As soon as he went down is when they started having his problems. Now he's got the suspension they have to deal with. Certainly it's not going to hurt them in terms of their division, but it could very well mean they're out of their bye. So they're going to have an extra game to go through, and you never know in the playoffs with the one-off. Green Bay, I don't know that if they have enough, certainly on offense. Rodgers has seemed to turn it around since his COVID fiasco, but at the same time, they don't have a lot of weapons. Aaron Jones is back, but he's banged up now. You don't really know what you got there. I don't know if I trust them. And then are we looking at Arizona? We don't know how Kyler's going to play when he comes back. He has a history, albeit a small sample size, but he has a history of not playing very well when injured. So we don't know how he's going to perform either. So NFC is completely up in the air. AFC is not any different. Baltimore is just injury after injury all over the place. Lamar's not playing particularly great, even from a clean pocket, which is really the most reliable stat. So I don't know if we're going to get it from them, even though we're getting better coaching. Do we trust a rookie quarterback in New England? I don't know about that. And Kansas City, boy, we'll see what they look like coming out of the bye. But
Josh,
that offense outside of the Raiders, they're not clicking.
Let me ask you this question. I'm sorry to cut you off, but and I'll let Speedy go, but this has been
you're
really
fine.
Mahomes thing, and I know everybody loves Mahomes, and I always thought that he's the next up-and-coming big superstar. Finally, when there's controversy over there with his team is not as dominant on both sides of the ball. The special teams has had weaknesses this year, and really that offensive line, which they rebuilt in the offseason where everybody was jumping for joy, has not been the offensive line they thought they were. Mahomes is showing weaknesses, and he can't carry a team. So your thoughts to Mahomes this year on an offseason where let's be honest, everybody thought he was an MVP candidate. He's not an MVP candidate. He's not even close.
Mm-mm. No, not this year. I don't think they've been very creative on offense. And quite frankly, they don't have enough weapons. They have the two absolute studs, but Kelsey has clearly been banged up at points and not been himself. Hill has been an animal all year. There's no question about that, but that's not enough. You need 4 or 5 weapons, and they've got 2. And I think that was very misguided of them in the offseason to put so much money in the offensive line. It's about cohesion. Even that's not working. He's a different type of quarterback. It's not just a 3-step drop from shotgun and go. No, he takes these deep sets that really throws the they don't have any other weapons on that at wide receiver.
This Mahomes thing needs to be dropped. He's clearly the best young quarterback in all of football. He'll be fine.
Really? I don't think so.
Who is?
The one that's sitting out for the whole season. DeShaun Watson, who I think is the best young quarterback in the NFL.
If he played last year,
I think you put DeShaun Watson on the Kansas City Chiefs team. I think they have a better record. They're a better team.
I don't know. That's not fair to say.
Well, it's fair to say to see what he's played with over there at Houston. Okay.
DeShaun Watson had J.J. Watt, McKinney,
that's defense.
Right, but he had leaders on that team. Mahomes went there and became the man.
Mahomes, I think,
took them and won a Super Bowl.
Fairly overrated. I've always thought he was overrated.
Has Watson even won a playoff game?
Oh, hold on one second.
Yes.
So Watson played for the Texans, okay? He never – if you put Watson on Kansas City with his skills, his personal skills, he's faster inside and outside of the pocket. He can make every single throw. I honestly, I think the best young quarterback in the NFL right now is DeShaun Watson. He's just never going to get the credit, especially if he comes back and he dominates because of what he's considered to be pointing fingers at doing.
There's generational talents. There was Elway. Then there
and you're saying DeShaun Watson isn't generational?
No, hold on. There was Manning. Okay. There was Elway. Then there was Manning, Brady.
You see what I'm dealing with, Josh?
And now there's Mahomes.
And hold on one second.
That's
it was
how it goes.
Brady and Manning.
Right.
So why can't you have Watson and Mahomes?
Because Watson hasn't earned that spot yet.
He absolutely has. I mean, look what he did to the Texans last year with that garbage of a team. I mean, he was throwing the ball to second. What do you mean, what did he do last year?
What did he do last year?
What do you mean, what did he do last year?
What did he do last year?
He had 30 touchdowns. He threw, 7 interceptions?
Mahomes outperformed him last year.
What happened?
Mahomes outperformed him last year.
Mahomes?
Not by much.
Not by much. He had more yards.
Matter of fact.
Come on, Josh.
Lamar Jackson outperformed DeShaun Watson last year. And Lamar Jackson, to me, isn't even a quarterback.
Lamar Jackson had a streaky year last year.
He led the league in yards, and he played with nobody throwing the ball to. He threw 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
He's the best young quarterback in football. And number 2 is the guy in Buffalo.
Dip it. You see what I'm talking about, Josh?
Number 2 is the guy in Buffalo.
If DeShaun Watson was playing on the same team as Patrick Mahomes right now with his gifts and his ability to move inside and out of the pocket and make every single throw on the run, I think Kansas City, it would hide the deficiencies of the weaknesses with the 3rd and 4th options. Do you agree?
No.
Why?
No. I will say I did catch a lot of your point about how that team completely overperformed last year because of him, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. And we keep a WAR stat, a wins above replacement stat, and he was way up there last year. And there's no question that, and I don't know his number off the top of my head, but there's no question in my mind that they won 6-7 extra games last year because of him. So I'm not going to disagree with you there. However, I don't think he goes into Kansas City and magically fixes thing. I don't think that just because he did so well there, that means he's better than Mahomes.